We're so excited to have you for the Fierce Reads Thrills and Chills countdown to Halloween. So if you're watching it after Halloween, that's okay too. But I'm going to let you kick it off and read us a spooky scene from your book, and then we're going to talk all about it.
Okay, thank you. I'm so excited. This is the House Saphir, which is very gothic. There's lots of ghosts. And it is about a girl, a con artist, who's pretending to be a witch. And she has been hired to exorcise the murderous ghost of Bluebeard from this very fancy chateau. And so I thought that I would read a section from the book. In the story of Bluebeard, the wife finds the murdered bodies of her husband's former wives in the basement or the cellar. And so I'm going to read the first moment when Mallory first dares to go down into the cellar. She knew she should turn away, leave this place. Instead, she reached for the handle. She pulled, but the door stayed firmly in place, locked. A new scent filled the air, more pungent than the herbal incense. The sweet citrus smell of fresh cut oranges. A skeletal hand emerged from the wood, reaching for her throat. Mallory screamed, launching herself backward so fast she tripped on the bottom step and sprawled across the stone staircase. The candle fell and extinguished. The hand disappeared in a wisp of black smoke, leaving Mallory to wonder if she'd imagined it. Then a low voice purred against her ear. I wondered when you would come to see me, little witch. Mallory sat up and spun around. Her foot hit the candle, sending it rolling across the stone floor. Before her, framed in the pale light from the corridor above, stood Monsieur Lebleu.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Do you feel like when you're writing it, you also like do you hear it in that the tones and the like emphasis?
I do. I also like it's kind of feels like watching a movie in my brain, and I'm just trying to type as fast as I can to keep up. But I also will find if I'm writing dialogue, then I will be like speaking it kind of at the same time, not like out loud, but like my mouth will be moving. And I write out in public a lot, and I'm sure people look at me like, why is she over there talking to herself this whole time?
Well, whatever works for you, because that's just the way you got to do it.
Yeah, right. If it works, it works.
So you gave us a little bit of a summary at the beginning. Is there anything else that you want to add that people should know about it before we start getting into questions?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I could say about it. I will say, let's see. So we've got Mallory as our main character. As I mentioned, she's a con artist pretending to be a witch, so she has very questionable morals. She also has a lot of trust issues. She's fascinated by murder and serial killers and really dark things, as so many of us are, right? But because she has done a lot of research on murder, she like doesn't want to trust anyone. She's like, I'm not gonna get murdered. And so she has a hard time following her heart, which gets complicated when she meets Armand Saphir, who is the great great grandson of the murderer, who is the one who has hired her. And he is a count, he is handsome, he is wealthy, but he's also kind of a nerd in a way. Like he's kind of shy, kind of introverted, and he has like no idea what to do with this girl who has zero filter.
So where did you get the inspiration for this story for people that aren't aware?
It does come straight from the story of Bluebeard, which is a fairy tale, but it's certainly one that, it's not Cinderella, it's not Sleeping Beauty, because it is a story about a girl who marries a serial killer. So it is dark and weird, and I remember reading it to my kids when I was first starting to read this book. So they would have been like maybe 9 at the time. And they were like, Mom, you read us the weirdest stuff. But yeah, so I really wanted to kind of have the same sort of macabre, a little morbid, very dark, but still a lot of levity, a lot of humor. So I kind of wanted to try to get that balance between the two.
So I don't know, I'm sure you've heard it, but you are like the queen of retellings. How do you decide which stories to retell?
It's really just whatever I'm excited to do. Um, so the House Saphir, it does take place in the same world as Gilded and Cursed, which were my Rumpelstiltskin retelling duology. But it's set in a different country. So Gilded and Cursed were like my take on Germany, medieval Germany. And I thought, it'd be really cool to do different fairy tales that come from different parts of the world. Rumpelstiltskin, largely a German fairy tale. Bluebeard, generally considered a French fairy tale. So here we're in fantasy France. And so then I did lots of research and reading about different fairy tales from different places around Europe to decide what's going to be the next one. So the next story that we'll be doing in this world is going to be Puss in Boots, which is an Italian fairy tale.
That's so much fun. And when you were thinking through this one and the timeline, did you intentionally plan it around like Halloween to kind of get the most out of the just the atmospheric paranormal aspects of it?
That would have been so clever, but not really. I just knew that doing Bluebeard, it was gonna be dark. And in Gilded and Cursed, we had a lot of folklore monsters. I wanted to continue that theme and will continue that theme throughout all of the books in this series. So here we've got a lot of French inspired monsters. And I was really wanted to do a Gothic manor, a chateau, a mansion, to capture those just delicious Gothic vibes that I know I'm not the only one who just eats that up. And I've done lots of castles, but I hadn't really done a Gothic manor yet. And so, yeah, that was a lot of the inspiration.
Yeah, it gives Haunted Mansion. Very fun.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly tried.
So as we're talking about, it's really great for this time of year specifically because of all witches, ghost monsters, haunted places. Staying as spoiler free as possible, can you tell us what one of your favorite scenes to write was?
Oh boy. Hmm. I okay, my the first one that crosses my mind is the hot chocolate scene. Because not long after Mallory and her sister get to the House Saphir, having been hired to try to get rid of this ghost, Mallory is up one night. She's trying to steal something and gets caught. And thinks, oh, he's going to kick me out. Instead, Armand sees that she's cold and offers to make her hot chocolate. And again, he's kind of a shy dude. And this is the first time where we kind of get to see his interests and learn a little bit more about him. And the first moment where Mallory's like, he's probably going to poison me, and then is surprised when he doesn't. It was one of my favorite scenes, and just like made me really crave hot chocolate. Even talking about it right now, I'm like, could you hold on? I better go get some hot chocolate.
No, I'm with you now. I'm immediately thinking, how can I get someone to bring me that right now?
Mm-hmm.
Where's my Armand? Oh, he's
That's
getting dinner. That's
right.
okay.
Do we ask for much?
Um, I would love to know more about what you need to do or what your process is to kind of get into the headspace to write such atmospheric stories.
Well, I was very, very lucky that I did get to travel to France while I was working on this. So like 10 out of 10, highly recommend if that is in the cards for you. And so we did travel to a lot of different castles and chateaus, and I took so many notes and so many pictures. So that's a huge part of it. I also definitely am on the Pinterest board craze. I always have a Pinterest inspiration board, which is not procrastination making those. It is very, very useful. And then I have recently discovered, so there's an app called Calm, which is like for meditations and sleep stories. My kids won't go to bed without a sleep story. And I've recently discovered that they also have soundscapes, which is everything from like falling rain or a burbling river and or like wind in a wheat field. Like there's got so many things. But there's one is a creaky graveyard. And then there's also one that's called, I think it's called Poe's Library. And so there's like a raven in the background and a ticking clock. And so I really alternated between those two the whole time I was writing this book.
I'm with your kids. I don't go to sleep anymore without the Calm app.
I
And
know, it's the best.
and they recently like updated, so now they have the playlist feature, which I always before was like, why can't I make a playlist so it's just always going? That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, my girl, one of my kids, I don't know if you've listened to the Humphrey sleep stories. One of my girls, there's like 7 of them, and they're all about this cat that likes to travel the world and find like great places to take a nap in Venice and in Rome and in Rio. And one of my daughters, they're her favorites. And so she made the playlist with the 7 Humphrey stories. But sometimes I'll lay down with her and then we both fall asleep. But then as soon as the next story starts, it's like this cheerful music. Bum, ba-da-da. It's like, oh, what's happening?
That's hilarious. I actually like I went on a trip and I planned some of the trip around something I'd heard about in different sleep stories. So I was just like, it works for so many different things.
No, it's got great travel tips. I've learned about a lot of cool places.
This is not an ad for Calm, but if you do want to sponsor us, we are available.
There you go.
So getting back to the story, Mallory, we've already talked about. She's a little bit of a different sort of heroine, a little bit shadier, a little more self-serving. So what made you decide, other than, it's just kind of part of the Bluebeard, what made you decide to tell this different type of character arc?
Oh boy, some characters just come to you. It was not a like a decision. Like I want to write a really shady character. I just started thinking about what the story was needing and who the protagonist of the story should be. She was not always a con artist. I mean, it really went through a fair amount of variations as I was trying. This is how books always get written. You try one thing and it doesn't work, and then you try something else. But as soon as I landed on this idea of Mallory faking having magical powers, and that's how she gets roped into this, it just clicked and it felt right. But I also I love writing morally gray characters. Of course, we have Nova from the Renegades. We have Kath and Heartless, and so I really enjoy playing with characters who are not 100% good or bad.
Nova is one of my favorite characters.
Thank
Like,
you.
so fantastic. So I'm glad that's a great comparison. Um, so although she might be a little rough around the edges, Armand, he's not deterred by her. And
Mhm.
obviously he doesn't know everything from the onset, but what is it about her that pulls him in? And what makes them have chemistry even if they seem to maybe be an unlikely pairing?
Yeah, no, I really thought about this a lot. And to me, when I think of Armand and I was really trying to dig into his character, I see him as someone who has been, he's been nobility his whole life, even though the family, like, they're a little ostracized, given the history of the family. But regardless, he was raised by his aunt. There was expectations that he had to be very kind of prim and proper and buttoned up and, carry on the family name and the family business and all of these things. And so he comes from a world in which there's just a lot of pressure to be and act a certain way. But really, he's not that person. Like, he's really fascinated in botany and herbs and alchemy. And he has all of these curiosities and things that go against what is expected of him. And then he meets Mallory, who is not at all what she's supposed to be. She is not a lady. She is not prim and proper. She says things that she absolutely should not say in any polite society. And he finds her just so refreshing. And I think that he really admires and thinks, wow, if she can be that way, like maybe I can also open up a little bit.
I love that. I did see someone ask if we are taking questions, and if we can get to them, we'll grab a couple. So feel free to drop them in there, but no promises. Um, and try to keep them spoiler free. So I wanted to ask a little bit also, if you're okay with it, about like writing process. And for this book specifically, was there, I mean, we've talked about, you know, the soundtrack you listen to, that kind of thing, but is there one piece of just process that you swear by that helps make this what it is?
I mean, I always go back to Save the Cat. Save the Cat writes a novel, which is okay. So people who know it, Save the Cat is a writing guide. Originally, it was intended for screenwriting for movies, but then the phenomenal Jessica Brody took it and adapted it for writers in Save the Cat writes a novel. And the Save the Cat process, it just breaks down the major points of plot structure and explains why everything you've ever read and seen fits into these specific moments. And so whenever I'm outlining or getting to ready to revise, or if my outline is falling apart and I don't know why, I always find myself going back to the Save the Cat plot beats and trying to figure out where did I go wrong.
I love that. I'll have to look that up. It's not, I haven't heard that before,
Oh,
so.
really? Oh, it's a great resource.
Okay. What is a piece of advice, other than that, because that's fantastic, but what is a piece of advice you would give to writers and aspiring authors?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I have been giving this advice for like ever and ever, but maybe there's someone listening who hasn't heard it yet. I think that it is so important to figure out what it is about writing and storytelling that brings you joy. Because it's so easy to get caught up in the idea of, I want to get an agent, I want to get published, I want this as my career, I want a movie deal, I want to hit a, you know, a bestseller list. I mean, these like, we set up these milestones and think, if I get there, then I'll be happy. If I get there, then I'll be successful. But it's a roller coaster. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's a lot of rejection and bad reviews, and you just can't plan for everything. But if you know, I really love daydreaming about my characters, or I really love getting to that big epic climax scene, or I really love the moment when the book is really giving me trouble, but then I go for a walk and I get that lightning bolt moment that solves all of my problems. Like whatever those little things are that bring you just personal joy, personal satisfaction, stay focused on those things because those are going to be there no matter where you are in your journey, no matter what's happening with publication and all of that.
I think it's maybe similar to so many things in life, right? Like, no one is going to be more critical of you than you. So make sure you're doing it because you love it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Someone did ask, how do you make all of your characters so distinct without falling into cliche tropes?
Oh gosh. That's really tough. I would say in my first drafts, they are always cliched tropes. They always start out that way. I do think a lot about archetypes, and I think when I'm first figuring out who a character is, I will come up with just like one or two, maybe three words that like encapsulates them. You know, Mallory, she is snarky and she is untrusting, or you know, skeptical, or you know, whatever it is, or dark sense of humor, like whatever. I would just come up with a few tiny things that give me a hint as to her personality. And then I start writing the draft, and that's usually all that I'm going on at the start. But then in writing the book, you start to uncover more about their history, their background. You start to figure out their relationships. And if when things start to come together, you'll start to see like, oh, this thing happened in her past. That's why she doesn't trust anybody. Or, she has such a dark sense of humor. It's a defense mechanism because of this thing. And so you kind of take those very tropey cliches, but then you start to build a real person around them.
And I mean, to be fair, we do love a good trope, so it's
I
okay.
am not anti-trope. It is true.
If readers could only take away one thing from this story, what would you want it to be?
Hmm. Honestly, I think all of my books, everything I've ever written, my number one goal is just to entertain and to tell a great story. And I hope that readers just really enjoy it, enjoy the journey.
Well, I have no doubt that they will. And luckily for so many readers, you are going on tour next week. So, what can people expect?
That's a good question. I just today was starting to think, what am I going to talk about on tour? People who come to see me for most of my events, not the ones where I'm in conversation with other authors, but for most of them, I'm going to be telling the original Bluebeard tale for people who aren't familiar with it. That's kind of been a tradition of mine. When I do a retelling, I like to tell the original fairy tale. And then I'll just be talking about the inspirations behind the book and how it came about, and doing Q&As and signing, of course, signing all the things.
We love that. And because we are talking, obviously because the book is coming out, but also because Fierce Reads put together the Thrills and Chills countdown to Halloween, we have to talk about Halloween, which is for us tomorrow. And what are your plans? Do you have traditions that you do every year? And what's your costume?
Yeah, so it's also my tomorrow is Halloween. The day after, November 1st, is my daughter's birthday. I have twin girls. They are turning 11. So we are doing a birthday slash trick or treat party tomorrow with four of their closest girlfriends. And we are having them over. They have insisted that everybody be Demon Slayer characters, which is, of course, a very popular anime, which I have not actually seen, although my kids talk about it nonstop. So I feel like I've seen it based on how much I've heard about it.
And I'm sure you've heard all the music.
Oh, so much music. Yeah, no, I could sing the Japanese lyrics, I think, at this point. And so I don't even know my character's name, but there's my husband is Tengen, and I am one of his wives. He has multiple wives. I am one of them. And we're gonna go trick or treating, and we're gonna have sushi and teriyaki for dinner, and then come back and I believe watch Nightmare Before Christmas, which is one of our Halloween traditions.
I love that. That is so fun. Happy birthday to the girls. And before you go, I wanted to do some rapid fire Halloween questions. So, what's your favorite ghost story? Go.
Okay, a real life ghost story. So this is not rapid fire. Oh my God, sorry. I'm
I
gonna
don't
tell
know
the
why I
story
said
now.
that.
The house that we're in, we bought about 2.5 years ago. Right after we bought it, we hadn't even moved in yet, but we had come to check it out, bring some boxes over, and my husband had left to go see a concert, and so it's just me and the girls here. And we were in the craft room because the laundry room, we were like, let's turn this into a craft room. And so the girls were in there. They love to craft. They already had their hot glue guns. They've got their paint. They're making a mess. That was top priority moving into the house. And we heard footsteps out in the living room. And we're like, that's really weird. So we go out and we're like, oh, nobody's here. I thought, I'm calling for my husband. Did he come home early? Nobody's there. So we go back, we continue making a mess, crafting, blah, blah, blah. It happens again. And at this point, I'm like, let's leave and go back to our other house. I was really spooked. And so we did. Later, in talking to people who knew the original owners, we learned that the woman of the house did die here in the house, and that she was very, very particular about her house and did not like messes, to the point where when her grandchildren came to visit, they could not come in the house. They had to go outside and play. And so I'm convinced that she was not happy about these two kids making a mess in her house. But she seems to like kind of be used to us now, I think.
Good. I'm glad that that's as far as it went.
Yeah.
Um,
We've had some
let's.
other experiences, but nothing too scary.
Oh boy. Well, let's keep it tame.
Yeah.
What would you say is your most memorable Halloween costume?
For me, it was when my kids were babies. And so my husband's like really tall and skinny. And so we decided that I would be Mario and he was Luigi and the girls were the mushrooms.
That's so cute. I love that.
It was my favorite.
I hope you took lots of pictures.
Yeah. I'll post one on Instagram.
So, chocolate candy or gummy sour candies?
Oh, chocolate.
Okay. Do you have
Yeah.
a
Not a
favorite?
candy person.
Hmm. What's your favorite chocolate candy?
Reese's.
Okay, yeah, that's a
Mhm.
winner.
Yeah.
And what is a fictional monster you would invite to a dinner party and why?
um, So I was trying to think of all the monsters in the House Saphir. Would I want anyone? And the answer is not really, honestly. But if I had to pick one, I would say the salamander. Because one, it's the monster that's least likely to want to kill my dinner guests. But it also breathes fire. So then I was like, oh, it could be useful for like lighting candles and things.
There you go, multi-purpose that thing. So, everyone, the House of Fear comes out next week. Go ahead and order it now so you're not waiting for it. It's so beautiful. If I had a copy right here, I'd hold it up.
Okay.
Great cover. But that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. And for those Fierce Reads influencers, your code for the night is Fitchers Troop. Fitchers Troop. So do with that what you need to do. And thank you so much. Happy Halloween. And thank you for being here, Marissa. Have a great night.
Thank you. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Bye.